Relax sort of Q&A. I'll start off by asking you a few questions because you're awesome and I want to do that. And then I'll open it up, so if anybody does have a question, feel free when the timer's right just to put up your hand. We'll go on that. I'd be happy to ask for anything. But Jim, I thought you don't mind if I call you Jim?
But sure.
Good, okay, that's a good start.
That way I'll know who you're talking to.
It does help, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Is this your first time at a convention in the UK?
Yes, at a convention. I've
Yes.
been there several times, but first time at a convention.
And how has your weekend been?
Superb.
Yeah?
Superb. Here we are, lovely Doncaster. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you for
I
coming.
brought the sun. Might be some out there.
There's someone. Has anybody approached you today about any particular character? Has anybody?
Yes.
Yes? That's good.
Next question?
Next question. I always like asking these sort of questions for voice actors. Did you start off wanting to be a voice actor, or did it just sort of congregate?
You know, I started off, doing dolphin noises in first grade and went downhill from there. And now, here we are.
I respectfully disagree with that.
See, she's getting kicked out of class too.
Yes, she is.
But
Yes.
it's
It's almost like I'm trying to be professional here! That's... Thank you, folks. Please,
You don't
move
want to
on.
know where that sound was coming from. Now, stand back up. All right.
Okay. And so, who was the first character that you voiced?
Well, professionally, outside of making fun of teachers and relatives at family reunions, it was Lionel the Lion on Dumbo Circus back in the 80s. And it was for a fledgling organization called the Disney Channel. I understand they've done well. Yeah, it was Dumbo Circus, and it was the folks in animatronic costumes walking around. And it was I can't imagine that it couldn't have been a harder gig. It's not unlike some of the cosplayers that just left here. They were earning their stripes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, but I was Lionel the Lion, and it was kind of Timothy the Mouse from Dumbo, but they couldn't have a live person in a mouse costume, so they just kind of took the little guy and turned him into a lion. And that was my first job. And I was very, very fortunate. I didn't know that it was impossible to break into, and I accidentally I had an audition, and I got that job, and then I was working like full time, so I quit my regular job, and it really foiled my real goal to be a waiter. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, damn that pesky voice acting. I wanted to wait on people hand and foot.
That's right.
Is there any out of the many characters that you have voiced? I'm going to stand over here to avoid.
I was going to say, having been a singer in a rock and roll band for 1,000 years, if we go like that, and then go like that, you won't be standing in front of it, so to speak. And it's stuck.
See, Chris,
You're
that's
welcome.
how it's done.
Oh, fine, now stand in front of it. Anyway, no, just a silly thing.
Well, actually, I don't need the microphone, so I think mostly just.
Can everybody hear you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for somebody to say
they can't
what.
hear you.
I was waiting.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Out of all the characters that you have voiced, was there any that particularly resonated with yourself that meant a lot to you while you were voicing?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think Pooh and Tigger are, in their own way, they're kind of in their own category.
Yeah.
They come from literature and also Sussex, from what I understand, right?
Yes.
Literature and Sussex, but I guess you could probably turn me down. I'm not actually going. After everything I say. But I will now, in case you miss it. Well, but I'm always like this. But I can't remember the question. But
Any characters that resonate?
yeah, they're kind of like Pooh and Tigger are in their own category. And am I on still? Okay. But I really like Darkwing Duck. I've always dug him, and Hondo Ohnaka, Star Wars, Clone Wars Rebels, and I really, one of my favorites of all time is Ray from Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
My old buddy.
Yeah.
It was great. It was, it was the first Disney princess that could be from an actual place, assuming you consider New Orleans a real place, and it is more or less. And but it was great. It was the first little black princess in there, and and my daughter Gracie is you know, I have a couple of mixed race daughters, and it was great for me because she was 4 at the time, and Princess Tiana started out at 4, and they looked just alike as far as I was concerned. I told him, I said, if you don't give me the part in this movie, I'm going to sue you for drawing pictures of my daughter and not let, you know, and so that meant a lot to me. Plus, you know, New Orleans is kind of like my adopted hometown. And so I thought, gosh, you know, if I don't get this job, I'm going to be stuck listening for the next 5 years to the songs I should have been singing, or you know, that kind of thing. And so that one meant a lot to me as well.
And now officially you were part of the Star Wars Canada.
Yeah, I guess so. I was very fortunate. I ended up being Hondo Ohnaka in Clone Wars, and he was in there for maybe like 3 or 4 seasons, and then that ended because they were doing it chronologically.
Yeah.
And it was like when Mark harkens back, he goes, "Oh, you must have known my father back in the Clone Wars." That was my Mark Hamill impression. Pretty good. Scary, right? No, but so they had to stop because chronologically speaking, the wars were over. And we waited 30 years, which in you know, Disneyland is like, well, I think a season. And all of a sudden there were rebels, and I was very fortunate that they brought Hondo back. And who knows how long Weequay pirates live? Hard to say.
It is hard to say.
Yeah. So I figure he went from like in his 40s to maybe his 70s now. And I have no explanation for the fact that he's in Lego Star Wars Freemaker. But I'm darn glad he is. So
would you like to have that transition of that character going from the TV show into, if you're going to call that he appears in episode 9, would you be up for doing that?
no way.
Oh, sorry, I did.
Only unless I was alone or with somebody. Then maybe.
Okay. And did you start off as wanting to be a theater actor or a film actor?
Well, I did. I mean, I think, you know, people will always say, well, do you have any advice for this and that? And I think, yeah, theaters, that's where you got to start, you know. You know, you're not going to, and when I was a kid, it was always so much fun to be in plays and just pretend to be somebody else. And like for me, you know, I'd be 10 years old, and I didn't want to be the little prince. I wanted to be the wizard. I wanted to be the ogre in the cave, and I, you know, that kind of thing. And it was just, my family says, well, he turned monkey hour into a career, and that's kind of, you know, what I ended up doing. And I was inadvertently doing research or building up the chops to do, you know, what character acting. And because, you know, people say, well, you're a voice actor, and yeah, yes, that's fair. But it's really, we're all just, I mean, myself and all my buddies who do this crazy stuff, we're character actors. And we do characters, and that's just what they sound like.
Yeah.
Because, you know, inevitably somebody will say, well, you know, I do an amazing, you know, John Wayne or Michael Caine or fill in the blank. And it's like, well, that's good. But can you act like John Wayne or Michael Caine? And they go, well, what are you made? Or, you know, and then you know, it's, if you can sound exactly like somebody, but you have to be able to pull off the character behind it. So.
And do you find that when you're writing a voice for it, it's okay, come in.
Yes, in fact, do.
Yes.
But only if you're wearing blue ears. Oh, thank goodness. That was close.
We were missing somebody with blue ears.
Yes.
Thank God you were right.
Now we can carry on.
Do you want to start from the beginning?
Yeah, exactly right.
Is there any, whenever you voice a character, do you feel that providing body gestures or something does that help you get into character?
Actually, it kind of does. I never would have had somebody asked me that prior to seeing myself on video, but I think you do it in it accidentally.
Yeah.
And because I've seen pictures of myself, and I could tell just still shots, and I could tell that I was Pooh doing that, and I can always tell when I'm Tigger because apparently I do something really attractive with my jaw. And so yeah, I think you just accidentally fill in the body language, you know, other than that. And then of course, then you do what they call a library, like punches, and like if you're playing a tough guy or something, you know, you get smacked around. You got all that, and that's kind of body language, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to learn it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the one thing though is you have to remember is because you know I work with a lot of screen actors, and it's funny because I can remember, I won't give his name because I can't remember it. Otherwise, I'd slag him left and right. But no, we were doing the California Raisins, and it was a guy he was into Color Purple. I'm going to forget his name. I actually do. I'm sorry to say that, but he was on mic, you know, and he would get into character, and he'd say, "Well, no, you have to get on mic." But my character goes, "Yeah, I know, but we can't hear that." See, so you have to get used to not doing a lot of body language too, because you got to stay right there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it works for you and against you.
Well, if it works for you,
Yeah.
then, yeah. Is there any voices that I'm going to phrase this in such a way so it allows you to get a drink of water. Was there any characters that, when you auditioned for them, sounded very different to how they ended up on the screen? Is there quite a creative process, or was it just like, here's my voice?
Sometimes, yeah. It was a bit like that with Darkwing, and I don't remember how it started, but you know, I think it was sometimes a sculpting. You know, you know, they've got the producer or the writer's got something in their head, then the voice director's got something in their head, and the actor's always going to have something in their head, and then you know, you get together, and maybe like the first session or two, you're just kind of working it out. And you know, you get the rhythm of the character and how he interacts with the other ones, and so, you know, to an extent, it changes a bit. But really, it's the one that gets you through the door is probably the one that it's going to be close.
Yeah.
It's going to be close to it, you know, because you're not going to don't want to change it too much because you got to dance with the one that brung you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there you have it. Yeah.
And will you give it much, because I'm a personal fan of Darkwing Duck.
Oh, is that right? Well, I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the bug that splatters across the windshield of crime. I am Darkwing Duck.
I am now 4 years old and what I wanted to ask about Darkwing. Thank you. Was with those introductions with Darkwing, were they written for you, or were you given a lot of freedom to?
Yeah, they were written for me. I didn't say them. No, that's funny. I've been asked that before. Basically what happens is whenever he shows up and there's a bad guy getting ready to do something, clouds don't get, he appears. What do you got?
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Then the next line.
I am Darkwing Duck.
Well, about 9 shows in, they I think it was Jim Magon, one of the writers. He goes, "I am the terror that flaps in the night. It doesn't matter what I write here. Jim's not going to say it anyway. He's going to make up something else. I am Darkwing Duck." So, and that was in the script. So I said, "Oh, okay." So now I had to. So yeah, I was the paper jam and the copy machine of crime or something. I mean,
one of my personal favorites was I am the Christmas toy with the batteries are not included.
Yeah.
Personal favorite of
So
mine.
take that.
Yeah.
He was a vicious man.
He was.
I know.
But surely those sort of characters must have resonated with a lot of people, because now that we have the Marvel universe where you have characters from these things, you now have characters that were in DuckTales and then in Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, Launchpad. Yeah, he started off in DuckTales.
He did.
Yeah.
And I always like to imagine that somewhere Darkwing Duck and is with Scrooge McDuck going off on adventures. I write about it, Google it, you'll find it online.
I think you should write that and send it. Yeah.
Well, is Disney hiring? Because
I would imagine.
after 5 o'clock today, I've got literally nothing else to do.
Well, they're expanding at all times.
Oh, that's a good point, yes.
They probably own this building.
Well, that's it. Disney works fast.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
good. Is there any sort of characters that you've auditioned for that you wish you had that maybe somebody else has gotten, or have you played every character that you wish
Gosh,
to
I
have?
don't know. Well, I don't want that would end up being envious of somebody, but I don't think so. I mean, the ones that I really wanted, I mean, thank you, Lord, you know, I did okay with. But no, I can't really think of anything. I remember, of course, I didn't audition, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I was sick as a dog when they were auditioning for The Simpsons. So I mean, not that, who knows? I mean, I might have been in, might have been out, but I mean, but the Simpson family was already set because they were on Tracy Ullman. They were the interstitials.
Yeah.
So that was kind of set. But I didn't get to audition for it, so I guess I can't really regret too much. But I wish I was healthy. You know, I could have been Mo.
Well, let's put that one up next to it. So many other amazing.
Oh no, I would have still been doing the other ones.
Oh, good man. There's somebody likes to keep himself busy.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dan and Nancy, I mean, all of them, they do tons of other shows.
Yeah, which is very true.
Yeah.
I will open it up in just a second. I always like asking this one question. Obviously, I've spoken to a lot of actors and a lot of voice actors today. Is that these characters that you can clearly see from everybody that comes here, they mean a lot to a lot of people. It's really, really helped us and sort of exposed us to popular culture as it is. Out of the conventions that you have been to, has anybody expressed that a particular character that you have voiced has helped them, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start. Yeah, I have some stories that'll just put you on your knees. I end up, God bless them. Make-A-Wish Foundation. Yeah, I've been, some little kids in cancer wards. Just grab the tissues quick. So yes, in that capacity. But then on the other hand, it'll be, oh my God, you're the voice of my childhood. I swear to God, I used to come over to school and sing you. So that was meaningful. So things like that. And a lot of things people, and I don't even, I don't do that many video games because they're all screaming and boring and because you have to do every possible aspect of it. And I'll say, can I be the narrator? I don't want to be the guy who falls from the third ring of Saturn on fire into a boiling vat of acid on Mars, because that's a long scream, Nah, get someone else for that. So, but I mean, some folks have said that I kind of raised them.
Yeah.
And one very interesting story was this set of twins, and I guess that it was a boy and a girl, fraternal twins, whatever they were. But she was sick, but her brother had to come, and they had figured out that I kind of raised them. God love them, because they didn't have a dad, and mom would get up for work, and this is back when video cassettes, the VCRs, and sure enough, he says, so my mom we would watch Winnie the Pooh in the morning before we went to school. Then my mom would go to school, go to work, and we'd go off, and then she would set the VCR to record, I think it was like Chip and Dale, Tailspin, Aladdin, and Darkwing, and Goof Troop, and by the time, then they would rewind the tape, and by the time they watched the shows, mom was home. So they said, we're pretty sure you babysat us and watched us about 5 days a week for about 10 years, all the way through grade school. And I said, how'd I do? Great. And I said, okay. So yeah, that's a heartwarmer. Yeah, I got a lot of those, so thank you, Lord.
Yeah. Well, out of everybody here, I always like to do these sort of things that you may have voiced a character, but these are characters that have meant a lot to us, as you can see. We like to come here, we like to speak to certain, we dress as these sort of characters, and I always like to say on behalf of everybody, including myself, thank you for allowing us to embrace our nerdism and just be expressive. So
same
thank
here.
you very much.
Hey, I'll take that. Right back at you. Thank
and that's it, we're done. So
yeah, I know, yeah.
So I'll open it up there. So if anybody does have any questions, we've got a question right over here. Hello.
Yes.
Who's been your favourite voice actor to work alongside with?
Oh, to work with? Oh gosh, I really have a lot of them. I don't have any unfavorites. A lot of nice folks, not as big an ego, with like the face actors. We always go, oh sure, anybody could win an Emmy if you get to use your face. But yeah, all my buddies are, we're all oddballs, and Rob's a great guy, Rob Paulson, Jess Arnell. I mean, honestly, I hesitate to start because I would be here just naming names all the time. But everybody's very, very generous, and Frank Welker. We know Frank Welker. He's every critter you've ever heard, and he was Cujo. He was the Saint Bernard Cujo. He was Spock's Scream in Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
I mean, on and on. He was Raja, and he was Slimer from Ghostbusters. On and on and on and on. I mean, and a great guy. He did tons of Animaniacs, and I've known him forever. We live close by each other, but he apparently went in for Lion King I was Ed the Hyena in Lion King. Did anybody ever hear of that movie? I'm just curious. No. But that was a gas, and he went in, and I guess, you know, he was the first guy they thought of, and bless his heart, he told him, he goes, and everybody's kind of going, that was pretty good. Which has got to be really weird for Frank, because usually he just nails everything to the wall. And on his way out, he goes, you know what? You should call Jimmy Cummings for this. Yeah, I think you should. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, do that. And they go, oh, okay. And then they did, and then I ended up being Ed. And so it's that kind of giving, that camaraderie, you know. And Frank's a good guy. As a result, I think I bought him some Perrier Jouet over that one there. So.
If I can maybe just springboard off of that one, rather than who's the best person to work with, what was your funnest experience in a recording session? Was it for a particular movie or a TV show, or were they just all amazing?
Well, they surely were all amazing, and Ed only laughed, so technically that was fun, I guess. And but a quick aside, I can tell you that because people were saying, how could they have, what was the script like for that? You know, and I said, script? You know, and we literally, I wrote down about, I don't know, 30 adjectives or whatever, you know, bored, betrayal, lustful, hungry, frightened, joyous, recalcitrant, you know, and I had to do a laugh for each of those. So. Yeah. I guess technically, if you're laughing, you're having fun.
Yes.
Yes, I don't know. But really, anytime I'm singing, I always love to sing. Singing, you know, anytime I'm doing a character that ends up singing, that's a lot of fun because I started as a singer, you know, and a drummer. Still am, and I got $10. We each got $10, $40 total. Myself and a bass player, drummer, or a guitar player, and. We got $10 a piece to play at Our Lady of Mount Carmel's Social Center dance in the fall, and I thought, I'm going to do this forever, you know, because I got $10, so I was a professional, and it just went off from there. But gosh, I got to tell you, there was one time, and there's a couple times with Carol Channing, the big Broadway actress. She was Dolly, hello Dolly, an older lady. I don't know if anybody's remembers her, but anybody, Carol Channing, the actress? Yeah, she's not around much anymore, but yeah, what's that?
I think she's got a very unique voice.
Oh, yeah. Yes, very unique, sweetie. And you know, sadly, it sounds a lot like her, I'm sorry to say. But she was doing a Chippendale Rescue Rangers, and it was a takeoff on the African Queen, Katharine Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart, and my character, Mona Rai Jake. From Down Under. He was kind of her love interest, and so she's sitting there in the studio, and she's this, you know, great, slightly crazed actress. I gotta believe she was probably in her 70s then, but she was wearing this really starched, I don't know, crinoline, linen, some sort of thing, and she moved all around, and she had like 5 bracelets on each arm, and she sounded like a one-man band. And the engineer is saying, oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Channing, can you possibly not move around? And, no, sweetie, I have to. And so she had to take off. 20 minutes later, she took off all of her bracelets and everything. And here's your neck. Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Channing, it's your blouse. What about it, sweetie? Well, and it sounded like somebody undoing a newspaper and folding it back up every time she did a line. And he says, I don't, let me try. So he kind of dropped the mic down here, and that didn't work. And she says, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Well, I have to move. Don't worry, sweetie. How's this? And she's standing there wearing her brassiere, her bra, and about 5 pounds of cotton under this strap, and 5 pounds of cotton under that strap. Oh, this is perfect. And she looked like an albino crow. And I thought, God love this woman. And the engineer, and we're all set to take pictures too, and we go, put the cameras down. And so yeah. And then on the Addams Family, bless her heart, Carol strikes again. She was grandmama. We did the Addams Family for Hanna-Barbera, and I was Lurch, because, you know, who else would you get? And she was grandmama, And she'd have like 2 lines in the beginning of the show, and then 2 lines at the end, but she didn't want to leave the studio. And so she said, "Oh no, sweetie, I have to stay and listen." So she laid down on the floor, and you know, we proceed, and there's, you know, John Aston, he was playing himself, Gomez Adams, and Nancy Lenore was Morticia, and let's see, Pat Fraley was there on it, Debbie Derryberry, I guess, and then Edie McClurg from Ferris Bueller. She was there, and we're sitting there doing our lines, and Gordon Hunt's on the inside, and we're doing lines, we hear, someone wake Carol up. So yeah, that was one.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do have to.
Aren't you glad you asked?
I am. I do. I will get to the questions again. Every time somebody asks something, it pops something else in my head, because I recently found out, and I love this fact, is like you were the singing voice of Scar in The Lion King.
Yeah.
So essentially, you had to do an impression of Jeremy Irons doing Scar.
I thought he was doing me. You might be onto something.
I might be wrong. I do.
No, quite right.
What was it like having to come in and perform as somebody else doing something else?
I don't know. I've done that a lot.
Really?
Yeah. I was Rasputin. Anastasia, anybody see that? Yeah. Christopher Lloyd. He was Rasputin, and they had this big Andrew Lloyd Webber, no relation to Christopher, but and there was this band, "The Dark of the Night," blah 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 blah, and they go, "Christopher, we've got this great." Yes, she liked it. You're the fan. But it was great, you know. He said, "Christopher, we got this great song for you to sing. It's kind of like it's Broadway. It's I got to." "Well, that's wonderful. Let me know how I sound." "What? I don't sing." I thought he was right. He doesn't sing. So I got to be Christopher Lloyd. Ba 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 ba. And yeah, sing along with me. So that was fun. But yeah, Jeremy, he did all the talking. "I'd never thought it's essential." But I did. He never got to the words "be prepared." That was all me.
Yeah.
And I go in and out. I listen to it every now and then, and I go, "Geez," then I have to go, "I think no, that was me." You know, so, but that's the idea. You don't want to. No, it has to be fairly seamless.
You do know I've now ruined your next viewing of The Lion King, because you will get to be prepared and just going, "Is that Jim? Is that who's?" Yeah.
Knowing you.
Yeah, she knows. Yeah, a lot of people know. Yeah.
But I recently found that out, and for years I just thought that was Jeremy Irons. So
Well, that's the idea.
yeah,
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know.
but it was amazing.
Yeah, Jeremy thought he was great. But I did that in Pocahontas. In Pocahontas, I had a duet with myself. Not bad.
That's impressive.
You know, but no, I was Russell Means. I was Powhatan, the chief, and the medicine man, Gordon Tutusis, and they're both Native Americans. And but I'll tell you, well, this is a little galling, and I think he was busting people's chops. I saw him on that show, Entertainment Tonight, after Pocahontas came out. Oh, big hit, you know, big this and that, and they go. And he was an American Indian, you know, Native American rights activist as well, you know, as an actor, and he was all about, you know, pushing the rights of Native Americans forward, and they started interviewing him about Pocahontas, and did he feel that he was well served, and was it good, were you okay with this and that, and he goes, "Oh, well, the thing I liked the most was the singing." That bloody bastard. Can I say that here? No, anyway, I did all the singing for him.
Wow.
Yeah, and apparently Gordon Tutusis, and we're sitting around, and they weren't done with the lyrics yet, and so we were singing sandwiches, sandwiches, instead of savages. Send out Phyllis Newman, he's the great with the songs in another show, and so that was fun. Yeah, I've done it before. My friend Jess Arnell and I, we joke around that we're stunt singers. A lot of singers can't act, and a lot of actors can't sing, and I can't do either, so they let me do both.
So you raised that
That's
guy.
right. Yes.
I believe, did you have a...
You feel like
I still... Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you got it answered. So,
Well, ask him one. It's only fair.
I'll get yourself, and then I'll get you, Roman. All right, so, yeah.
Do you reckon voice actors seem to be the unsung heroes of visual mediums?
Yeah.
It's only the last couple of years that you've seen video games voice actors like Nolan North and Troy Baker actually winning awards.
Oh, good.
Do you wish that more care was taken from the film industry as well as TV and games?
Wait, as opposed to what?
As opposed to the distinct lack of appreciation for voice actors.
Oh, you mean like an award ceremony specifically for voice actors?
Oh, well, they have an Annie's. The Annie's is, it's like the animated Oscars for animated movies, I guess.
But I think even more in the mainstream was like the Oscars, the BAFTAs, the Emmys,
Yeah.
actually having some appreciation for the guys that do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think the internet and I think cons too, conventions like this are raises a bit of awareness, because I think people are, you know, when you're a little kid coming up, you don't think, well, who is that, you know, duck or that pig, or you know, Bugs Bunny, you know, like Mel Blanc, and I knew who he was because, you know, my dad pointed out, he goes, "Say this guy right here," you know, and he was on the Jack Benny show. Mel Blanc was. And he goes, that's that Foghorn Leghorn guy, that Tasmanian guy, that Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck guy. And I go, no kidding. And so I don't think he started much awareness back then, but it's certainly a lot more now. And yeah, and like I say, I think the internet and social media and everything, and plus a lot of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like every now and then, somebody like Entertainment Tonight, I remember them doing that. And every time there's we're doing something, and it's you know, here we are on TMZ taking a look behind the screen at the guys who do this stuff, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll get recognized for about a week in the supermarket, and I go, you know, and then it's done. Back to the behind the curtain. But yeah, it doesn't bother me, you know, that, you know, it's kind of okay, you know, not to walk down the street, because I think if I looked like Winnie the Pooh or Tigger, it'd be tough.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great. I believe you had a question on that?
Touching on to the comment that you said about singing, you voiced the character of Mr. Bumpy from Bump in the Night,
Oh yeah.
and you did a lot.
He's one of my faves too. I love that guy.
How was it like working on the show? And
It was a ball.
in regards to the songs, did they come up with the songs in the script, or?
Karaoke Cafe, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they had writers for the songs, you know, and we would do them like maybe once a week, and then go and do the songs, and go back and do the show. And I dug it, yeah. Karaoke Cafe. That was one of those songs. There's a few shows like that. They did this with Darkwing too, and I never quite understand. I mean, that was the #1 rated show, and they renewed it. I think we did 2 seasons, and the 3rd season or second, whatever. And then we're good. And it's like, but, and you know, and I never have an explanation for that. But yeah, the singing was great, and I didn't mind singing as Bumpy because he had sort of he sounded like James Brown to me when he sang. So, you know, Mr. Bumpy, you sound like Tom Waits, baby. Oh yeah. And a little Dr. John, and there's a bit name of Mr. Bumpy, I go Bumpy tonight. And it was great. It was like, it sounded like my childhood. So yeah, it was fun.
And love your rendition of School's Out, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did do something crazy like that. Yeah, we used to do that in Animaniacs too. They would do parodies.
Yes, they would.
And you have to do, I forget the rule, but you can do a parody, and I think it's like every 3rd chord has to have a variance in it.
Yeah.
Or if you do the melody line, they bum ba dum bum 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 bum. It has to be bum ba dum bum 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 bum, and just enough to, you know, make you think, oh wait, I know that song. Oh no, I don't. You know, and it's a parody, and it gets your attention. And those are fun. It was a lot of fun. We did tons of those with the Animaniacs. In fact, speaking of, now that we're talking about it, I was bad Joe Cocker. It was the Animaniacs. I don't know if anybody saw it, where the 2 squirrels, they ended up in the. They went out for 3 days of peace, love, and tranquility, and they accidentally went to a place in New York called Woodstock. And they woke up and they, what the hell? Who invited all the hippies? It was kind of like that. And then I was doing bad Joe Cocker in a parody, and then I was bad Roger Daltrey in a parody. And Tress MacNeille, everybody knows Tress. We love her, and she was slated to be Janis Joplin, who was also at Woodstock. Maybe people might not remember Janis. She died a long time ago, but very, very famous at the time. And she had a sore throat, so she said, "Well, can Jimmy do it?" And I thought, yeah. Because it was, "Ah, baby!" And that was it. Thank you. So I was Janis Joplin. Bad Janis Joplin.
Wow.
So there, yeah, lot of fun singing. Yes, sir.
I tell you what, I'll get you Seth, and I'll get you in a second, my man. So, yes, my friend.
Okay, what's your opinion of Winnie the Pooh and Card the Snake? Because they both share the exact same voices.
The same guy, yeah. And the stork. No, it was the same guy. And the stork from Dumbo. If you ever see that one, it's a telegram for Mrs. Jumbo. And you know, a car is I've always said, because Sterling Holloway, God love him, he that was him speaking. You know, he wasn't doing a character. That was him just speaking. Hello there. It's nice to meet you. That was him. That's how he spoke. And so Pooh was, of course, very honey and very happy and lighthearted. And then there was Car. Not so nice. You know, and it's a little freakier that you're used to hearing somebody really nice in that voice, and now they're looking at you and trying to hypnotize you, and of course eat you. So yeah, but you're right. Yeah, Sterling Holloway. He was a character actor, of course. So yeah, but it was the same guy. That's why they sound alike.
I'm just saying, what's your opinion of the two characters?
Oh, you're
I don't know.
opinion.
I never trusted Carr.
Do you trust Winnie the Pooh?
Pooh, no problem.
Okay, all right.
What, even
And
with
your
honey?
opinion? Yeah, what do you think? What's that?
Even with your honey?
You trust him with your honey?
No.
So you trust him to a point.
To a point.
To a point. Okay. I hope that answers your question. James over there from Team Rocket.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to pursue a career in voiceover acting?
Go to college.
Hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
So,
No, I didn't know it was impossible to break into, and I think it's harder now, but there's more venues now, so it'd be hard to say. I've been 32 years I've been doing it, and I honestly I didn't. I mean that sounds silly, but I just went on an audition from. I was working at a video store back then, and one of our customers had just made a really scary movie, awful, called Soul Survivor. So he was the guy I knew in show business, and I made my demo tape, and I said, what should I do with this? He goes, oh here, give it to me, and he gave it to Don Bluth Studios, and Don Bluth, American Tail, and The Last Dinosaur, and you know, he was a former Disney guy, and he sent it over there, and he listened to it, and he said, well, you don't stink, but I'm not doing anything, so I'll hold on to it. And he did like 3 weeks later, another guy called me up and said, well, you don't stink, but you want to come up here and audition? And so I did, and it was a bit of a fluke, and you know, knock on wood, thank you, Lord, I'll take it, but I think nowadays, unless there's just like a lucky stroke like that, you know, I'll tell you this, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, you know, think of yourself, you're a character actor first, because people will sit there and they'll concentrate on a voice, and maybe they sound exactly like whoever they were aiming for, but you have to be able to have a cold in that voice, or be sleepy in that voice, or be mad, or sneeze and sound like that, and that's the first thing that well, this is more so for impressions, I would think, than just being a straight voice actor, but you know, just remember, you know, being a lot of, I was, like I said earlier, inadvertently I was training myself by doing all those character roles, and I think that's the way to do it. I mean, if you have nieces or kids or anything, sit around with sock puppets and do characters for them, you know, read them stories and do all the things, and you're working your chops, and you know, and then it's like, you know, you're working a muscle, you know, and then you take the best stuff you have,
And that includes like narrating, like, here we see the anaconda sliding down the Amazon River. Well, you want that guy on there too. And just, you know, figure out your strengths, and your friends will be good at telling you that. And put them up front, and make sure that you get their attention on your demo. And this is getting really nitty gritty here. And then you got to shop that around. You know, take it around to agents, you know, wherever you live, and of course nowadays, you know, your agent could be here and you could be working all over London or Chicago, you know, that day. If you know, because I've done phone patches and satellite things and everything, and you know, just keep those chops up and just keep on going. Don't stop. It takes a full-time commitment to, you know, have a part-time career, you know, in this crazy gig. And then, you know, move to London. I would think I'd have to. I hate to say that, but it's like, you know, I'll be in Indiana and they'll say, well, how can I do that? And I go, man, you got to do all that stuff I just said, and then move. Unless Doncaster's got a burgeoning, you know, depending on where you live, right? You got to follow business, you know.
Does anybody know if there's a thriving voiceover?
We could start one.
We can start a revolution.
That's right.
Doncaster voicing. There's a hashtag for you. We'll start it from here.
Right.
You'll be the CEO. And
Sounds good,
right?
yeah.
Is there any other questions? Oh, wow, there's a lot of questions. All right, so I'll go with yourself, and then Lily there, and then yourself. Okay, so I'll start with yourself, sir.
What was it like living and working in New Orleans for all these years?
Oh, I loved it.
The voices are amazing, barely
Oh,
quite
yeah.
French, but
Yeah, I loved it. I moved there. I went there for Mardi Gras and thought, okay, I'll just stay. And that was it. You know, I was a kid. I was like 18, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I thought it was great. You know, and then I ended up getting a job. And it's weird because it's one of those bucket list things too, to a certain extent. I don't know, for some reason I always was enchanted with New Orleans. I was born in Youngstown, Ohio, not New Orleans. Very similar to Doncaster, but nowhere near this nice. I promise you that. And so I moved to New Orleans. Yeah, man. And I just thought it was great. The people were great. You can't get a bad meal. And you know, I always wanted to be, probably from all the Mark Twain I read, I always wanted to be a deckhand on a riverboat and be a drummer in a strip joint on Bourbon Street. Done. And so I got that out of the way. So I guess the answer is it was pretty good. And I designed and painted Mardi Gras floats for a few years too, which is an odd, people say, well, how do you prep for that? I go, well, you have to work on a steel mill. You have to sell encyclopedias door to door, and oh yeah, be a riverboat deckhand. So that's how you get into voiceover. That's probably the real answer to other gentlemen's question. Or not.
It's very broad. Right?
Yeah, yes.
So yourself, and then I'll get you the next day to the boat. Be you next. Okay. So yes.
So you said that you began as a singer. Was there like a particular style that you favoured and has that like translated into some of the
Well,
your
I guess
favourite
R&B,
voice
R&B, just in general. You know, when I was coming up, that was all it was. It was either Beatles or Motown. You know, Beatles, Stones, Motown. Elvis was there, but I never fancy myself on that. But yeah, I mean, but you know, singing, and it's funny. I could say this: a lot of the, I don't know, successful voice actors started as singers, or at least sing, because there is a certain musicality and there's a certain rhythm, and gosh, Billy West had a good example of yabba-dabba-doo, hey yabba-dabba-doo. That could be a saxophone, it all let you know. And that, you know, Yogi Bear, and it's there's a certain, like I say, a musicality to certain speech patterns, and also just, you know, popping the mic, and you're used to, you know, stupid things like that. You're just kind of used to it by the time you show up for your first voiceover job. Nobody has to tell you to stuff like that. I didn't mean to yell. But, okay. yeah.
Hope that answered.
Did that answer? I don't know. Yeah. If not, it's vague enough, and
Yeah.
hopefully everyone forgot what you asked. If it didn't.
Yourself and the white bow tie.
I've heard that Don Bluth
the time, all day long. Yeah, I guess I have a couple coming out. Charming, maybe coming out. I'm King Charming. Thank you. Who knew that it was a family name? Yeah. So yeah, I think that calls for a celebration. I don't know who rang that gong, but yes.
Top Luther's coming back! Have you seen The Secret of Nim? It's amazing!
That's right. Yeah.
We do have time for, I've got time for a couple more questions, so, you know what, I'll take so be Lily in the back, then 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so Lily in the back then?
Is there any accent that's ever got you stumped?
An accent that's strong.
Well, for a while, I couldn't get Cockneys and Aussies separated. That was a tough one. Well, I found now, you know, which I can't even tell which one I just did there. But I always, you know, I did some looping for Paul Hogan down under. And it was crazy because I looped a few lines and I was also bloody flipper. So, Dolphin I have no problem with. Aussies, maybe. But I remember no relation, but Jules Holloway. He was, oh gosh, I'm gonna forget the character. In My Fair Lady Squire, he was a fella there that died. Yeah, I don't. No, get me to the church on time. You know, and it was tough to get the Aussie accent away. That was tough. But I think I've got it now. I hope. Anyway, I was Monterey Jack, so yeah. It's too late now. We already recorded it.
I don't think anybody will watch Chip and Dale and just go, the show's really good, the Cockney in it doesn't say anything like that.
He's not from Melbourne at all.
He's one of it.
I think he's from Liverpool. I could be wrong.
Paul McCartney.
But why am I singing? It's like I said earlier.
With the blisters in me fingers.
Exactly.
That was terrible, I'm so sorry.
That's not your grandfather. I've seen your grandfather. Your grandfather lives at your house. Well, everyone's taught the two, aren't they?
I always tell which one.
And that is John. Laddie John.
You know, so yeah. I'll just show it off. I don't even remember the question. No, I'm kidding. But those were tough.
Yeah. So, I believe it was yourself next.
I only raised my hand to get her question.
Oh.
I believe it's yourself next. You're sweet.
Can you still pronounce Tigger's tongue twister bounce from his movie?
Yes.
That's good. Would you be able to?
Oh, that's a whole different question. Are you talking about a whoop-de-doop, around the bone? The more you do, the more the thing, something that rhymes with bones. The bouncy, 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 that's another song. Oh, well, anyway, yeah. Have you got the lyrics? Because I'll make something up.
Watch her scramble for her phone.
It won't be pretty. Oh, the whoop-de-doop, around the bone. The more you do, there's something, and the dance rhymes with bounce.
So you scramble on Google now. You get the lyrics up.
Here it is. How about you?
Dance monkey. We're gonna finish up it. Before I get to the question, Jim, I just want to say, see this lovely couple that just walked in?
I know those dudes.
Yeah. During the cosplay competition, they just got engaged. I just wanted to point
Yeah.
out.
Well, somebody will be doing the whoop-de-doop balloon. I see where this is going.
You walked in on the perfect moment.
Yes, aren't you glad? Oh, look, she matches her outfit.
Did you manage to find the lyrics?
Yeah.
You did. So
I was afraid of that.
sorry, Jim. We should have wrapped up there. I'm
Great
sorry.
googly woogly.
Oh, there we go.
No, this isn't it, is it? All right, okay. And yeah, Richard Sherman. The whoop-de-doop, loop-de-loop, rally-oop, bounce. The whoop-de-doop, loop-de-loop, rally-oop, bounce. I'll get to the blend and I can't even make the blend. I'm in the wrong key. Thank you. Thank you so much. Who is that woman?
I don't know. Sorry. So we're gonna wrap up. We've got time just for this gentleman here. Well, actually, we got time for both, so I can get you in. So obviously, just because it says Tigger on here. So so evil mad Dr. Scientist. white coat.
It's just this is more like a question for advice in regards to with the voice acting side of things, because I know you said you're avoiding games and things due to sort of strenuous activity on your voice.
Oh yeah.
What can you advise in regards to if you're ever doing like something that's more of an aggressive voice or something with an aggressive tone, as to not strain your voice too much?
Right. Well, you know, and this is definitely something that I actually it's an aspect of being a singer. You know, when you sing like every night, like several hours, you got to get some leather cords going, and that's probably why I don't get, you know, sore throat that often. But you know, you have to realize, Jess Arnell is a good example. It's like, ah! It sounds like, you know, it could be being strangled, or I'm James Brown or Taz. But if you do, and you use, and then you'll feel. If you can feel, if you're feeling anything here, stop. You know, pull it down or pull it up in your head, and you know, and now all that's just up in the back of my. It's a very technical thing, and you got to get used to it yourself because it's an instrument. You know, you play your vocals. That's. I mean, if it was a saxophone, you'd take care of it too. And you just have to, and that's kind of like a scratch and sniff, learn as you go kind of thing, because okay, well, I won't be doing that anymore. You know, and you're really great for 4 takes, and now you can't talk anymore, and you'll go, okay, so when I feel that, stop and, you know, recalibrate. And I never smoked cigarettes, but because it's bad for you, and I don't like the smell. Is the actual really mature reason. But you know, different things like that, and you know, and whiskey's not your friend, I don't guess. But you know, it's an instrument. You're, you know, like I say, so you have to take care of that. And if you feel it, stop, and then just recalibrate and figure out. I mean, you can make and it will hurt, or else you go and it doesn't hurt. And depending on where you are on the mic, you know, you'll get the same effect. Just for good measure, when we were doing the Tasmania show, I was Taz, you know, and you can't do that all day, even, you know, even if you're used to doing it. So I would just have them do it on a Friday afternoon, then I had the weekend to recover, and that's fine. And you have to think of it like that, you know, you're kind of caretaking it. But your pipes will tell you know, stop that.
Hope that answers your question. By the way, on a side note, did you get your wallet back?
I did.
Good.
I need to say thanks to the person I will go.
Yeah, I did an announcement for you.
I kept all the money though.
Yeah.
That's the request.
Yeah. Yes. And last question, please make it a good one so we can end on a high.
He will be good. He knows. He's got pop-ups and everything.
Following that question, do you remember the Tigger song lyrics?
The wonderful thing about Tigger is Tigger the wonderful thing. Their tops are made out of rubber, their bottoms are made out of springs. They're bouncy, bouncy, flouncy, bouncy, fun, 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 fun. Oh, but the most wonderful thing about Tigger is I'm the only one. I'm the only one. No. Thank you, bro. God bless. Come down and say hi at the table. Oh, and buy stuff? Yeah. I forgot that part.
Yeah, if you have any other questions, if you want an autograph or a photo or a hug, do you do hugs? Hugs, there we go. Try that. Yeah. Oh, this yeah, but so Jim is here. If you do have any other questions, feel free. Jim will be there. Apologies I had to wrap it up short. We do have other stuff happening today. But thank you very much, folks. And if I don't see you later on, enjoy the rest of your con. Thank you.